I'm Sean McCormack, CIO for First Student. Very excited to be here and talk to you about how we launched a digital business called First Alt. Now, to start, a little bit of background on me. I started in the United States Air Force, military intelligence, did that for 8 years. Nothing to do with IT at all. Then I randomly fell into the startup world, did 4 startups. From there, switched to the dark side, went to the enterprise world, worked for several large corporations, leaders in all their industries. Now, pop quiz, let's do some data pattern recognition. If you were to look at my background and resume, give me one word that summarizes it. Interesting, okay, I'll take that, all right. Where's John Spence? Where's our data dude? All right. Movement, okay. I think we could substitute that with macho, manly, right? I mean, I've got fighter jets, beer, motorcycles, tools. I mean, does it get more manly than that? At this point, I basically have like pickup trucks and barbecue grills, and then I have to retire. So the startup piece is important because I spent a lot of time at different startups. And startups, if you've worked in one, think very differently than enterprises. Who here has been in a startup before? Okay, all right, a lot of hands, awesome. All right, to illustrate that, let's talk about the first assignment that I had. I had just left an e-commerce startup. We'd gone to $40 million in a couple of years, rapid growth. And then I went to go work for Coors, and I was lead engineer. And the first assignment I had was to estimate a FTP server capability. If you're a youngin' and you don't know what an FTP is, it's basically a way to transfer files. Think Google Drive or Dropbox today. So for those of you that have been in a startup, let's take a guess as to what my estimate was to set that up. Zach? One day, all right. How about for the enterprise side? What was the estimate to get it set up? A year? Okay. All right. Pretty close. So no joke. My estimate was $50 in a day. Brand new at the company. This is how I'm, establishing my reputation. And my estimate is one day and $50. Because I went online. I looked for hosted FTP site. I found one that had a credit card that you could sign up for $50, and I was done. Now, the time we finished, and I learned the enterprise way, it was 3 months, $100,000. We had legal team involved, procurement, we had redline MSAs, there was cyber penetration testing, there was DR capabilities, all this stuff. So it was a massive awakening for me. And I think that really illustrates the difference between what a startup looks like and how they think versus an enterprise. Now, speaking of enterprises, if you don't know who First Student is, we're the leader in student transportation in North America. We have 545 locations, over 45,000 vehicles, makes us one of the largest private fleets in the United States, 58,000 employees. We move more people every day than all the United Airlines combined, all the United States Airlines combined. So very large organization, right? We're owned by EQT. If you don't know who EQT is, they're one of the largest PE firms in the world. We're also the leader in electric vehicle. So we have more EV buses on the road and on order than any other company out there. And we're one of the few, actually we're the only ones to be called out by the White House for our EV efforts. So very proud of that too. Now if you look at business segments, we have a lot of different segments we focus on. The biggest one by far is yellow school bus. Anybody remember what my walk-on son was? Black and yellow is Khalifa, you get it? Right? Yeah, black and yellow. So we have a lot of different segments, yellow school bus being the biggest one. But one area that we're starting to focus on a lot is alternative transportation. And that's essentially trying not to use a big yellow school bus to provide transportation. And that's important because there's a lot of demand. One of the biggest areas is special needs transportation. You can see year over year, it's growing rapidly. And unfortunately, I actually practiced with this thing, believe it or not. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of market options. If you're a parent or you're a school district, chances are if you have a special needs child or someone that has some other challenges getting to and from school, you can get a taxi, right? Imagine taking your kid and put him in a taxi with some stranger. Or you can contract with us, and we bring a big yellow school bus. Not a great personalized experience, but the other challenge is if you look at drivers, there's a nationwide shortage in CDL drivers. Who here does a lot with CDL drivers? Only one company? Okay, all right, I'm recruiting wherever you work. It's a big challenge. We actually have a national crisis. We're down thousands of drivers, and so it's very challenging for us to take an entire yellow school bus and send it somewhere to pick up a few kids. Based off that, we launched something called First Alt. And First Alt, like I said, is a digital business. Think Uber for these different segments, the biggest one being special needs transportation. The other one is McKinney-Vento. If you don't know what that is, that's homeless youth. And then we also have out-of-district places that we have to get kids, and then also hard-to-reach areas. Good examples, we operate in Alaska, very rural areas, where we're trying to get kids 2 hours away and bring them to school, and we may only be picking up 1 or 2 kids at a time. Now, the benefit for us, in addition to being able to provide personalized transportation, is it actually helps us free up school bus drivers to do the big yellow buses and provide the big routes that people need so desperately. If you look at First Alt, the concept came about in March of last year. And literally within 6 months, we went from ideation to having a pilot where we're working with real customers. By end of year, in January, we had a product offering that was out in the market. And then as of April this year, we had a full product offering, expanding rapidly. So ideation to basically in market in 9 months, which is crazy. Again, going to a startup, how many people have done that pretty fast as a startup? That's hard to do. As an enterprise, go back to my FTP server, 3 months, just to get that set up. This is crazy time. So let's look at First Alt, give you an idea what that actually looks like. One of the things that we really cared about was being able to get drivers on board quickly. We really wanted them to have a good user experience. Traditionally, if you're a driver and you work for a fleet, you have to do a bunch of paperwork, you have to come in, bring a bunch of documents. It's a very long and painful process. We want to make it super easy. So all they have to do is download the app, they can create a profile, they submit for a background check, they submit for drug screening. There's a whole bunch of things that we have them complete, but all that is done through the app. An example is being able to upload the driver license, they complete training, all that is done, vehicle details, super simple process. It allows us to attract drivers very quickly. Now, once they've done all that, the next step is, and we validated them because we work with the fleet providers, we track all the documents, everything. Once we validated someone, then we can start issuing rides. There's a lot of complexity hidden in this. Not to downplay what Uber and Lyft do, but for them it's fairly simple, right? I have destination A, I get to destination B, I do some optimal routing, and that's essentially it. For us, it's much more complicated. We have kids that have a lot of different needs. It could be equipment, it could be medication, it could be guardianship. We have schools and the calendars that we're working with, different days that they operate, early and late starts, a lot of challenges. We've tried to hide a lot of that complexity where someone can look at a ride, understand the things that they need, accept it, see what's coming up. So again, very simple interface. Do a pre-check, start the ride. One of the things we integrated was preference, user preference. What type of navigation do you want to use so that we're not dictating it for them? We have the turn-by-turn navigation that you'd expect. And then when they arrive, they validate that they received the child. When they've completed, they confirm that they've actually delivered the child. And then at the very end, you've completed. So very simple interface, right? Good experience for the driver. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of complexity that we're managing. Obviously, we care about all the drivers. We want to make sure they're fully certified. We have to track as these things expire over time and what changes. If we have issues, we want to document that, make sure that that person can't work for us anymore. So a lot being managed there. Trip blueprinting is one of the biggest issues we have. I talked about all the things you have to deal with. So we have to worry about sequencing, calendars, how we line all these things up, making sure all the equipment is available, making sure we have cars that match all those requirements. We do a lot to track the trips. We're able to see what's completed. We're able to see what's coming up. We have a real-time dashboard where we're able to see, from an operational perspective, what's running today. Do we have trips that are running late? Do we have drivers that haven't shown up? Do we need to bring in substitute drivers? So every minute of every day, we have an operational dashboard. And then most importantly, being able to track what happened on a trip. And so here, you're able to see we have every second mapped. We know exactly where the person went, what route they took, when they got there, when they dropped kids off, all of that for historical purposes if we have any concerns. Also care a lot about driver safety and child safety. So we have a digital ID, and at any point in time, a parent can challenge the driver, and they have to pull up the app and show them the ID. It's time-stamped, so it shows when that was last refreshed. And then they have a badge, and they have a sticker. So that way, when they pull up, people know exactly who they are and can validate it. So all that's really cool. Wasn't easy, though, right? Launching a startup with an enterprise is never easy. I've done this several times now. One example would be at Harley-Davidson, launching their digital business unit. And every time you do it, you have the same challenges. One of those is just the way that you work. Going back to the FTP example, in a startup, I want to move really fast. I want to cut every corner that I can because the whole goal is to make revenue and get out to market quickly. In an enterprise, it's very different. You're worried about protecting the brand, you're worried about making you have teams that specialize in all that. For design and development, normally a corporation has some very strong beliefs on what the feature should be. Whereas if you're doing product thinking, you care a lot more about what the customer wants. You also have differences in how you do development. Normally at an enterprise, you have an enterprise technology stack, you have an architecture review board. You want to make sure that you're not having duplication and different technical capabilities. Whereas in a startup, you care about using the latest capabilities in the market so you can move fast. And then lastly is talent and skill sets. The talent that you hire for a startup is very different than what you would have in a traditional enterprise. Traditional enterprise tends to be more packaged capabilities, SAP, Oracle, whereas in a startup it tends to be a lot more custom in most instances. So at Erstat, we partnered with Thoughtworks. I love that I came after Joe because he talked about product thinking, and that's exactly what we used. We used design thinking, which is all about focusing on the customer. We used lean, which is focused on removing waste, and we used agile, which is focused on being able to respond quickly to what's changing in the market. We took this process and we worked with the enterprise PMO and said, here's how we need to deliver. How can we make this work with the enterprise PMO process? What are the key deliverables that really matter to you versus what are the spirited things that we need to address? And we were able to line up our process with theirs and get it to work. With that came a lot of ways of working principles. Thank you again, Thoughtworks. We leveraged your principles for a lot of it. And to me, that was important because we were able to get agreement early on how we were going to operate as a company. Next is peers. And Joe talked about how there's different models. You can have a startup completely off on its own. And I've done that before, and that works. There's pros and cons. Or the other is you fully embedded in the enterprise. Again, pros and cons. For this instance, we decided we were going to fully embed it. So we got partners from every single team. We made them part of the core team. They were part of the core meetings every week. They understood the business goals. And we worked with them to figure out how can we move fastly. An example would be legal, right? Legal traditionally has a fairly long pipeline. We started doing a forecast with them saying, here's all the contracts that are coming. We need a lawyer that specializes in software law and contracts. And we were able to partner with them so we could move quickly. And we did that with every single business unit. If you look at product, this is always a challenge, designing what the features are. I'll give you an example from Harley-Davidson. When I launched the digital business unit, we were trying to decide what to build in the mobile app. Now, who here has a Harley or rides? Okay. What? Man, you guys are killing me. All right, we got a few people. So the corporation, it was actually really hard at Harley because everyone there rides a Harley. So everyone is a customer. And because of that, they're fairly opinionated on what the feature should be. Sales and marketing came and told us, the number one feature you need to have is finding a dealership. I said, okay, great. Let's just go test that with customers, see what they say. What do you think the customer said? Absolutely not, right? They have Google. In most cases, they were customers. They already had a dealership they were working with. They could care less. The biggest issue they had is being able to map rides. They were doing large group rides. They had no way to plan it together, and all of it was being done in spreadsheets. They also cared about turn-by-turn navigation. And what we found is a lot of customers were taking their mobile phone, mounting it on the motorcycle, and trying to do all of this through Google Maps and spreadsheets. So we said, all right, we're going to develop Ride Planner, where you can plan a ride together, and we're going to do turn-by-turn navigation. So once we got past that hurdle, then the next hurdle was sales and marketing came and said, okay, great, now you're going to use these brand colors, these brand fonts. I said, okay, great, let's just go test that with customers, see how that works. So we did some field testing, and we found that if you have a phone mounted on your motorcycle, certain colors don't work for people that are colorblind. Also doesn't work really well when you're driving in the sun and you have glare coming down, some of the colors wouldn't surface. We also looked at human-machine interaction. Certain fonts wouldn't work well when I'm driving a motorcycle really fast and I'm having to glance down in seconds. So based off of that, we changed the entire color palette and the fonts. Really important, because had we just listened to the corporate view, which was informed for a lot of reasons, it would have been completely false on the market. Instead, we focused on the end customer. And that's the same thing we did with First Alt. We focused on parents and districts and students and what do they need, and drivers. Now with that, it's really important to have a technology stack that can change. One horror story is I was at an enterprise and I took over a project that had developed a catalog of products. And they had done it with an Indian firm, got it done in 2 weeks. That was the good news. Bad news is the Indian firm had hired 50 people to create 1,000 static pages with all the content in it. So when we had to come change it, how easy was it to change? Right? So that's why it's important that you have not only good design, but also the ability to change your technology rapidly. And so for that, we used a modern technology stack so that not only could we respond quickly, but we didn't lose quality as we went along. And then lastly, you need a good partner. Obviously, the reason I'm here is because we leverage Thoughtworks. And I've worked with Thoughtworks now at 3 different companies, huge fan. And one of the things I love is they're highly opinionated. They come to the table with a view on what should your technology stack look like, what should your working principles look like, how should you design your products. If you're wise, you listen to them, because they're fairly battle-hardened in how they came up with these approaches. So all that's cool. Everybody wants to have a cool product. Everybody wants to be successful, make money, right? That's why we're here. But in the end, what matters is the experience for the end user. One of the things we really care about at First Student and then we talk about is that it really matters how a kid starts and ends their day, because that dictates a lot of the rest of the day for them. If a kid has a crappy ride to school, chances are they're going to have a crappy day at school. If they have a crappy ride home, chances are they're not going to be happy when they get home. So we really care about the experience. I want to introduce you to an individual named Henry. So Henry's mom, Monica, told us that there was no way in hell she was ever going to let her son ride a school bus. She was worried that he'd be made fun of. He's a special needs student. She was really worried about the experience. And then one day, she saw Henry looking out the window, and he was crying because he wanted to ride a school bus like the other kids. He just wanted to be normal. So based off that, she went and worked with the school district and was able to get special needs transportation set up for him. And I want you to see what his experience looks like. So every day, Henry opens the door by himself, walks down the driveway, gets on the bus. And his mom told us that that's one of the best things that ever happened to him, because now he's safe and he's happy. It makes an impact. Now, on the flip side, sometimes kids don't have a good experience. And we have other students that we've taken on that had worked with previous transportation providers, had a really bad experience. Again, we care about what that experience is like. So I want you to hear this voicemail from a parent that called us. They had a previous transportation provider switch to us. And I want you to hear just how impactful it was for this kid to have a good start to their day.
Hello, my name is, and my son is, he attends the Sierra at Barrett School, and I'm trying to find out how I can send a thank you letter for his driver, or so that give him recognition. My son was having a horrible day today, and usually it goes very badly, and he started walking away and ran up the street, and instead of just abandoning us and leaving and going on about his way, he took the time to drive up the street. I met my son at the top of the hill, gave him, got out of his car, got him to come over, gave him a hug, got him in the car, got his seat on, and they went. And I'm just in tears and so emotional because we've been struggling for 2 years, and this is the first time anybody's done anything like that. And I just want that to be recognized because it really means a lot to me. So if you could please give me a call with information for who I can send a letter to, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great day.
So that is being driven by Kim.